When a lot of Indian people hear the word sales, the image which comes to their mind is door-to-door sales. The person who rings our
Aquaguard.
doorbell and says,
Yes.
"Yeah, will you please buy this
Filter
product?"
khareed lo.
And
Yeah. Unless you're not bringing in revenue, what's the point? What's the point of you being there? And what's the point of this whole charade? So I was like, okay, let's get to the point. There's someone who is the key decision maker. Normally, our mothers or in India, at least, in
yeah,
maybe even in the West, actually. So whoever holds the decision authority is someone who is probably controlling the budget as well. And it's about how you can influence their decision.
no, the idea which I have is from Wolf of the Wall Street. Sell me this pen, and if you're able to do it, I will hire you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Harne podcast. Today, we talk about the most important aspect of business, sales. Because if you don't have sales, you don't have a business. To talk about it, we have Teerth Janmajay, who is a graduate from the Schulich School of Business and is currently working as an account manager at HPE in Toronto. Before we get this conversation started, I request you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, especially those who watch the video but don't subscribe. Please press that subscribe button, leave us a comment, or if you have a question in the comment section down below, and press that bell icon so that you are notified every time a new video is uploaded. Now let's listen to this conversation with Teerth. Hello, Teerth. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. You have a rare background, which is in sales. So I look forward to this conversation with you.
Thank you, Raghav. Pleasure to be here. Yeah, we can get started.
Yeah, definitely. And I always ask my guests to introduce themselves and tell them a little about their background. So your educational background before your MBA, your work experience, and what are you doing currently?
Okay, so Teerth, educational, so I was pretty focused on business throughout pretty much. So I did my bachelor's in business administration. So that was from Narsi Munji in Mumbai. I specialized in marketing. And right after graduation, I actually started working as a copywriter. I was really interested in the whole advertising sector. And after after some time there, I realized that, okay, fine. It's quite tough to cut it in the ad, as a service provider. So then I was like, okay, let's see it from the client side, because there I was working with a lot of different clients. So I was working with a lot of FMCG companies. Nestle was one of my biggest clients in the copywriting side. So like they were, and so then I got an opportunity with Godrej. I worked with Godrej in sales in India. Then I worked in marketing as well in Godrej. And so I worked there for like 3-4 years, like almost 4 years. And then I came to Schulich. And yeah, and Schulich, as you know, was good fun. Got to learn a lot, especially I think about marketing and sales. Pretty much, it was quite a lot of marketing stuff in the initial parts that we got to know about. But after we came to Canada and we got an opportunity to choose our own courses, I took some sales courses as well, and that also helped really get me ready for a position in the Canadian market, because it's quite different to how things work in India.
And where are you working currently?
I am working with HPE, so that's Hewlett Packard Enterprise. So HP and HPE split some time back. So HP is the consumer products division, and HPE is the enterprise products division.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving us an introduction. Now let's dig into your experiences and your background.
Okay.
So tell us, Teerth, why did you decide to pursue an MBA? I mean, you are that rare breed of Indian students who did not do an engineering. You did your BBA. Then you got straight into copywriting. So what was it that got you interested in doing an MBA?
Well, a part of it was about just getting experience in a different country, because growing up all my life in metro cities, we do end up getting fascinated with the West. So I was like, okay, I got like a lot of intense India experiences in my life. So um, I think that was my biggest motivator, that get a world-class education that can lead me to really getting settled in a different country and in a world-class organization. And yeah, things worked out decently.
All right. And when the world-class education word strikes my mind, the usual picture is the Harvard and the Stanfords and the Columbia business schools of the world. So how did you decide on pursuing the Schulich School of Business?
Well, I mean, my GMAT score was not like Harvard level. It was, it was. I had a 680. I mean, I tried in different colleges, of course, and Schulich was really interesting because, of course, I was settled in Hyderabad for because I was working in Godrej. I was based out of Hyderabad, and it gave us the option of doing first 8 months in Hyderabad itself, and it just felt perfect to me, because like it was very seamless, and that made it an easy choice.
Right. And were you always interested in sales, or was that something which you decided to pursue during your MBA?
um I mean, I was already in sales in Godrej. It was quite challenging, let me tell you that. Anyone, like, I'm sure, as you can imagine, it is a high stress job. So uh, I was like, okay, I got a taste of marketing as well in Godrej. So there used to always be a tussle between sales and marketing in India, especially. I mean, here also it's not that different, because, and that is the thing that I realized from all my time in whatever organization I worked. Unless you're not bringing in revenue, what's the point? What's the point of you being there? And what's the point of this whole charade? So I was like, okay, let's get to the point and let's just work on bringing revenue.
And when a lot of Indian people hear the word sales, the image which comes to their mind is door-to-door sales. The person who rings our
Aquaguard,
doorbell and says,
yes.
"Yeah, will you please buy this
Filter
product?"
khareed lo,
And yeah,
yeah.
so that is the image which we have. But that is not all about sales. That is just a part of sales. So could you please tell our listeners what is it exactly that you do in HP right now, and what are the different aspects of sales? So there's a business to business aspect, there's a business to consumer aspect. So could you please elaborate on that?
So sales essentially works, as you said, B2C and B2B. That would be the biggest differentiator. What I'm doing right now is absolute B2B. In a way, it is not that different also, because in even when you're doing a B2C, there's someone who is the key decision maker. Normally, our mothers, or in India at least, in
Yeah.
maybe even in the West actually. So whoever holds the decision authority is someone who is probably controlling the budget as well, and it's about how you can influence their decision. And that's in similar to how B2B sales works, because now you have to find the right person and see how you can influence their decision making process. And it's quite straightforward, honestly. How sales works here, it is making a relationship with your client, understanding what their needs are, and making sure that your product can, if it is fulfilling all their needs, then yeah, getting it to them at the best price possible.
So essentially, B2B, B2C, you have to influence the person who has the decision-making power.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And you said that you have to establish a relationship with your customer first. So could
Yeah.
you elaborate on that part, please? Like, how do you do it? And like, if you were to make a typical sale, what's
Mhm.
the process like?
So there are uh, customers also, I mean, enterprises, just like households, they vary in size and structure a lot. So you have your huge enterprises that a lot of the times there are like contractual agreements between big companies that, okay, we will buy from you at this certain times, and then you have your smaller enterprises that you actually it's something like actually reaching out to them and seeing that, okay, like say a company like your local like your local coffee shop, the easiest example. So a coffee shop would need a POS point, and that runs on a backup server, and it might need an active server as well, and it depends. So even like a customer like that, the process is actually pretty straightforward, that okay, they want to come to us and they have this requirement. Now normally they're using a consultant to help understand, okay, this is the best product for my needs, because IT consultants, and that is uh, for the smaller customers, that is my point of contact, that okay, this is their IT consultant, or this is their because he's the guy who's again influencing their decision. I don't really need to actively explain to the customer what it is that, like, the best product that they need, because it's the IT consultant there. And for bigger enterprises, say like 3M. 3M is one of my big customers. So they would have a huge IT team. So there, we actually have external influencers also helping us build that relationship, because it's like you need to get in touch with so many people at so many different levels in a company like that, that we actually use partners as well, who will help maintain the relationship of our company with that head of IT, or their like, and of course, like, they'll have many mid-level IT managers as well. So in that sort of sense, again, those mid-level IT managers would come to the head of IT and sort of get an approval that, okay, this is the sort of things that we need in all our different locations at 3M. So then the head of IT would contact his partner that, okay, we have this requirement. Could you suggest vendors? And that's how one of the bigger purchases work. That the head of IT tells us that these are our requirements. What are the different vendors who could fulfill it? In a sense, similar to how, like, say, a government tender works in India. That you set up a tender and, like, you have vendors reaching out that, okay, we can fulfill this in these ways, and these would be our terms. So yeah, those are probably two ways where different ways of how B2B sales works.
Thank you so much for explaining that, Deep. And under this big picture which you gave us, what is your role? Like, what does your day to day look like? What do you do?
So my day to day looks like making sure that all the deals that are in the pipeline, they are taken care of in whatever stage of intervention that I need to make. So in some cases, I might need to have a call with the customer, figure out that, okay, is this your requirement? Then in some cases, my intervention is that I help out the partner. scope out that, okay, these are the requirements fulfilled by the customer. How can we get out the best price out to them? I work with my internal teams a lot to like actually, because I cover a huge area, and I need to make sure that, okay, everyone is aligned and everyone knows the updates of what is going on in different things. And yeah, if I get some time, then I actually call some customers as well, just to, okay, hey man, do you need some more stuff? Are you all good? Just simple things like that. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds actually a lot of work.
It is.
So,
It is.
if you could now dig into the cultural aspect, because you came from India and you are doing sales in Canada, so the cultures are very different. How
Mhm.
difficult or easy was it to adapt? Because I'm sure sales, how they are done in India, would be somewhat different from how they are done in Canada. So, right after graduation, what are the changes which you found and how did you adapt?
So, I mean, honestly, sales in India was a huge challenge because, as you said, the cultural aspects are very different. And it is people, I think it's just about people at the end of the day, what it comes down to. In India, people, especially I was working in the Hyderabad area. So, I mean, I worked in Mumbai also for a while, but was mostly out of Hyderabad. And being like, I wouldn't call it a extremely metro city because, and the market I was working with, I should mention, was consumer durables. So Godrej appliances. And out there, you have people again who are, um, they're trying to make a quick buck more, you know. So it is a lot about how you can just get that sale. Like that's the main thing. It's like I don't care whatever it takes. I need to make that sale, and because it is do or die environment, like extremely high pressure, and while it is about making the sale here, people care more about the experience of how they're buying rather than like just about the cheapest product they can find. So because of course, people understand like when you're buying something like a server, it has to be a certain quality because it's going to do some really important stuff for you. So, in that sense, people are much warmer here. They actually want to know you, they want to know about the product, and they want to make sure that they're making the right decision. So it's not just okay, what's the cheapest? What can I get the like fastest? It's about actually understanding the client and them understanding your product and seeing if it's a right fit.
All right. And while you were talking, I was reminded of Ashnir Grover's word. What he
Mhm.
said was Indian market is the most competitive and the Indian consumer is the most spoiled consumer in the world because he
Definitely.
wants everything in the smallest quantity available and he wants it now
Yes,
and at the
yes,
cheapest
and the
price.
cheapest, of
And the
course.
cheapest price. So if you are someone who can do sales and conquer that market, then I believe from what you've told me, the Canadian market would be a little bit easier for that person.
uh,
Is that true or no?
Sorry, my headphones died out. So can you hear
No
me?
worries. Yeah, yeah, I can.
Again, like honestly, because I think if you can understand the cultural nuances, sure, I think you can. It's just about like because yeah, if you try to do the same stuff here that a traditional salesperson would try to do in India, yeah, it won't cut it because big, people care, as I said, like more about the experience rather than just the just signing the check.
That's true. And now, Teerth, let us break that mindset of the typical door-to-door salesperson, because I
Okay.
believe that's not an aspirational image. A lot of people don't want to become that. And I believe that is why sales is not something a lot of people aspire to pursue a career in India. But it is actually the most important thing. As you said, that if you are not contributing towards making a revenue, then what are you doing? It is a very stressful job, but I'm sure the rewards are high as well. But if you could paint a more aspirational picture and break that traditional mindset, what would you say to our listeners?
Aspirational picture towards sales. Okay.
Because like not a lot of people in India want to go into sales. So, I believe that that is primarily, I'm sorry to interrupt you, primarily because of that image you have of a door-to-door salesman. So what can you tell to our listeners to remove that image of the salesperson which they have?
So if people think that like door-to-door sales, as you said, is something that they're not interested in, I guess it's not for them, because it takes a certain amount of integrity to understand that if someone doesn't want your product, you can't force it to them. So handling rejection is something that's you have to have an understanding of it. And because especially in this market, nobody wants a forced sale. Nobody wants to feel like they're being forced into making a decision. As much as you will try to exert influence on their decision. But in terms of aspiration, I mean, of course, I would say you should consider a career in sales, because it is the lifeline of every organization. And there are a lot of organizations that need salespeople. And especially out here in the West, you will see a lot of the big organizations are extremely sales focused. They would have, in terms of openings, I would say, maybe a 50-50 split between 50% being focused to revenue generating opportunities and 50% on all your other functions. Now, that's not disregarding any other function, but pure numbers wise, you have a very good chance of getting into a great organization. And it is something where a lot of fresh graduates also get a chance to build careers out of. And especially if you lack some technical abilities in some sense, because if you are not like the most gifted business analyst or marketing consultant, you have to find your way in the market. And sales is a very good way of building your path towards a career in a big organization. It's a very good entry into the door. And I've been lucky that like I've worked with nice organizations that way. That I mean, Godrej was pretty nice, and same with HP. That if you perform for them, they will take care of you. So.
Yeah, thank you. And as Naval Ravikant says, that if you want to get wealthy, there are two ways: learn to build or learn to sell.
Exactly.
If you can do both, you are unstoppable.
Of course.
So, now let's dig into how do you get this job into sales. So tell us about how did you network for these opportunities and how did you build your resume?
So in terms of networking, I actually applied for a job in HPE pretty much like when I was just about to graduate, and I got rejected. Then, so it was not like, I mean, my resume was at fault as such. I worked on my resume like the good thing was because I had prior sales experience, I was meeting the requirements, and I had like a very good MBA program that backed me as well. Plus, I had a decent amount of varied experience which companies like to see, because it means that you have an understanding of the business market beyond the traditional sales view. So that also is important, because you're going to be talking to a lot of different people. So you can't just come in with the absolute hammer of buy. And I had to, yeah. So after I got the first rejection, um, I decided to reach out. I just reached out on LinkedIn that, hey, I had applied for this role, and these are my sort of qualifications, and I just want to know why I got rejected. And luckily, it was I guess my resume, so that's the thing. A lot of times you're a little late on applying, so um, maybe the posting was still up, but the position might have been filled. So because I personally reached out, I did my research, okay, who would be the manager I would be reporting to? And I directly reached out to them. And I told them that, hey, what happened? And they said that, well, I mean, the position got filled. So I'm like, sure, I'll keep an eye out for future positions. And they were like, yeah, sounds good. And a position came up again. And this time, I reached out as soon as I applied that, hey, I reached out for this position. Make sure to keep an eye out. And they really like that, because they told me that, it shows that you want this, and it shows that that you can get this. And that was really important for me, actually. I mean, of course, I had rounds of interviews and stuff after that, but I had a prior understanding with someone who was a key decision maker again in this, and that's how I landed at HP.
Thank you. And as you said, you were pretty proactive with reaching out to people and showing them that you are really interested and you can do this. And that is what impressed them. But Teerth, you had sales background. What would you say to somebody who does not have a background in sales? And if they want to get into a sales job, how should they go about doing it?
Show that you want it, show that you can do it, honestly.
And I mean, if you could give an example.
Even if you don't have sales background, just show that you can do what's needed to be done, In terms of, they will ask you to showcase your technical skills. They will ask you to showcase your selling skills. And you need to be confident in stressful situations. You can't, because $1 million deals are relying on your inputs. So if you can show that you can handle yourself in these situations well, companies will take a chance on you.
Right. And that is, I think, a perfect segue into the interview process. So if you could describe how the interview process looks like, because the idea which I have is from Wolf of the Wall Street, sell me this pen. And if you're able to do it, I will hire you. So how does it actually look like?
It was okay. So the first interview was basically just going through your experiences and seeing that, okay, can this guy actually be a part of a sales team? Does he have the prior experience? Just going through your resume, general, my second interview was much more focused. It was actually more of a technical one, where I had to go into one of HP's products and develop a pitch for it, as you said. Instead of sell me that pen, it was sell me this platform as a service.
Okay.
So I had to develop a proper deck, and not that big. It was, again, and so that was the second part. And after that, it was just, again, a little more focused with the pertaining team. That, okay, can you actually, are you a culture fit as well? And yeah, that was the 3 rounds, and it was an interesting experience. It was stressful, definitely, but I think that's what they want to see, that if you can manage it.
All right. And I am more interested in the technical round which you had.
Okay.
So how did you prepare for that? How does one go about preparing for that? Because as you said, that is I think the make or break, whether can you sell that product. So what are your tips on preparing for that round?
Well, let me think. I did my research, honestly. I genuinely understood the product. That was the main thing. Do you understand what is the problem that they're trying to solve and how they're trying to solve it? That was the thing. That if you have a market and if you have a product, understand both the things, that who are they trying to reach out to? That's what I focused on a lot. Okay, so first I understood that, okay, they're trying to reach out to these guys. Now, what would be the sort of messaging that these guys would understand? How much time do they have to actually absorb this information? And does the product, you have to believe in the product, that does this product, this pen has to, sign a check worth whatever. So this pen has to do its job. And the other guy, as shown in Wolf of Wall Street, needs to have a need for it. So again, yeah, it was just really researching deep into that product, talking to a lot of people, just because, I was from a non-technical background because I was in consumer durables, FMCG, so not exactly heavy tech stuff. So understanding the technical, just an overview of the industry was important. And after you understand the industry, you understand the product. So yeah, those would be the most important things.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for your answers, Teerth. Those were certainly very insightful and very helpful for people who want to break into sales. As you said, there are a lot of opportunities in sales right now. And anyone who is willing to make a career in sales should definitely think about it. So what I will do, Teerth, is I will also link your LinkedIn profile in the description section.
Sure.
And anyone who wants to connect with you to get further tips can reach out. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Teerth. It was a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me, Raghav. Pleasure.
I hope you liked that conversation and found it insightful. If you did, like this video, share it with your friends, leave us a comment in the comment section down below, subscribe to the channel, and please press that bell icon. Until the next week, this is your host, Raghavendra Harne, signing off. Take care.